This video is for anyone that is struggling with feelings of unworthiness. If you feel like you struggle just to feel like you're good enough, that you struggle to feel like you're allowed to take up space, then I'm hoping that this video can give you some powerful reminders and give you some inspiration at the same time. That being said, I want to start off by saying that you are worthy for being exactly who you are right now. Remember that feeling worthy doesn't really come from what you do, what you accomplish. It doesn't come from being busy or from a relationship or even for accomplishing a goal. Self-worth comes from inside of you. It comes from the belief that you deserve to be alive, to be loved and cared for, and to take up space. Everything else has to do with self-esteem. Your abilities, your accomplishments, your skills, your performance, and self-esteem has the ability to go up or down depending on what's happening in our lives, and that's completely normal. But self-worth isn't like that, or at least it shouldn't be. In contrast, unconditional self-worth is different. It's not about comparing yourself to others, and it's not something that increases or decreases. Unfortunately, if you were raised in an emotionally neglectful or toxic environment, your self-worth was probably used in a conditional way, and that taught you to view self-worth dependent on what's going on outside of you or what you're achieving. But that was wrong. And it's time to learn how to remove that internalized perception of yourself. That's all that it is a perception. And it is a perception based on somebody's outlook that doesn't have a healthy outlook. People in your life may have conditioned you to believe that if you were different, if you did things a certain way, differently, then maybe you would be loved, accepted, and in turn, you would feel valuable and worthy. Love may have been something conditional in your childhood. In fact, it's very common for those of us who grew up with trauma to question our very right to breathe and to exist. But again, that was a perception that somebody created of you. But your perception of you is no longer in the hands of someone else, especially someone toxic. It's now in your hands, and you can choose to have unconditional self-worth in your eyes. And you might be thinking, how on earth can I do that? Well, one very powerful way that we show unconditional self-worth is when we refuse to tolerate someone else verbally abusing us. No, we put down healthy boundaries on the way we expect to be treated and spoken to. But that also includes the internalized voice of the abuser in your own mind. Unconditional self-worth is not just how we show up with others. It's how we show up with ourselves. We have to become the editor of our own inner dialogue, refusing to allow the mind to condemn, shame, criticize, and blame heartlessly. Every inner voice was once an outer voice, and so we begin identifying the quote-unquote abusers in the mind, and we begin editing out the voices of people that are not healthy. As I ask the following questions, allow your mind to imagine the answer, to see the answer in a picture. Really engaging your senses and your imagination. What would life look like if you let go of the thoughts that have been condemning you, or the thoughts about how the way you think, feel, act, or look should be different from how you are. What would happen if instead you began focusing on the everyday little things you like about yourself? The way you smile at strangers, how you cry when you're explaining an emotional movie, the way you hold a pen in your hands, the empathy you feel for others, the kindness that takes up so much space in your heart. What would happen if you began asking yourself questions every day like, today, what was the quality that I expressed that I am most proud of? What is something I like about my body? How is my personality unique in a good way? What do I like about my mind, my thoughts, or my imagination or creativity? Sometimes, because of our upbringing or trauma, we may have a hard time practicing self-acceptance, mostly because we faced so much rejection by the people we should have felt most accepted by. And so we internalized rejection. We tend to think there's something wrong with us, that we're not okay just the way we are. And unless someone outside of us grants us acceptance, we don't feel like we have permission to be able to grant that acceptance for ourselves. But what would life look like if you gave yourself permission to unconditionally accept yourself? What would that feel like? Can you imagine it in your mind's eye, how that would feel inside? And can you visualize it? What would be different? Can you embrace all of the pieces of you, even the pieces you might normally reject? Your silly laugh, your crooked smile, your discomfort of the silence in between a conversation, the mistakes you make. What if you could accept all of these pieces? Because when you accept yourself, no matter what, you are acknowledging that you are worthy just the way you are. To feel worthy, we need to accept all of the pieces of ourselves. Just like for a puzzle to be whole, it needs all of the pieces. Now, obviously, a lot of us are on a personal growth journey, right? Or a cptsd recovery journey. And while we're doing that, it's important to remember that we need to accept ourselves where we are today. I know that in my case, there was a time where I didn't accept myself in the moment. And I was on this personal growth journey, and I would see where I wanted to be. And I would think to myself, maybe more subconsciously than consciously, but I would think, when I'm there, then I'll feel enough. When I overcome this, and this, then I'll feel worthy. And the problem with that kind of thinking is that you are rejecting yourself while on this personal growth journey. And to be honest, it only prolonged my journey. It wasn't until I could still see the destination. I see where I wanted to be. I see who I wanted to be. I see the perception that I want to live in, but I still see where I'm at today, and I love and accept myself even today. In other words, when you can stop rejecting yourself on this journey and you can love and accept yourself where you're at, believe it or not, the journey goes faster. That was kind of a bonus that I didn't realize happened, but it does. When we can see our destination, but still enjoy the journey and give ourselves the self-love and acceptance every step of the way, every day, even the good days, even those bad days, which we all have them. it really helps to move forward faster. So with that being said, remember that if you are growing and you're on your own recovery journey, remember that you're on it because you want to change, because you want to grow, but not because you have to in order to feel worthy. Okay, there's a difference. There's a difference from growing because you want to and growing because you don't feel like you're enough in the moment. And that's not the place we want to do this journey from.